Hey, good morning everybody, it's Mike, and thanks for jumping on here with me today. You know, sometimes I'm just like an old nag. Just an old nag, right? Like I'm just gonna keep saying the same things over and over because, well, they're true. And I just want them emblazoned on your brain so that one day when you're an old man like I am, you'll be sitting around telling people, this is just a truth, whether you like it or not. Great agents thrive in all markets, folks. Great agents thrive in all markets because they adapt and they change to the marketplace in which they find themselves. That's why. Notice I said great agents do that. I didn't say mediocre, average, weak. I didn't say that. I said the great ones. The great ones always do. The great ones are going to do probably better in all markets. Up, down, it happens. It's going to change. With many things changing in our business right now, this month, it's already happening. We're reviewing strategies and best practices, recommendations on how you can thrive too. I mean, it's going to be up to you whether you will or not, but I do want to help. So here's some suggestions. Yesterday we discussed the listing side, and I offered some what I think are key tips on how to adapt right now, today. On your listing appointments, right? We discussed this yesterday. Only discuss the listing side commission with your sellers. You don't need there's three options in the GAR listing agreement form. You don't need the other two options. They're irrelevant. In my humblest of opinions, they shouldn't even be given. I think even putting them on there violates the intent of the NAR settlement. So on the listing appointment, only discuss the listing side commission. Suggest to your seller that they be prepared to offer buyer agent compensation as a part of most offers. I think that's going to happen. I think the great majority, most, if not all, offers are going to come in and the buyer is going to be asking the seller to pay their agent's commission so that the buyer doesn't have to. Because, right, on the buyer side, that is going to be so hard for most buyers to be able to write a check to their agent and have the cash needed to be able to close on their mortgage. And I think the seller needs to understand that. Look, here's what you're going to pay me. I would suggest that you be prepared when we get offers to consider buyer agent compensation. If you don't want to, that's your right, but you could put the home buyer in a position of having to choose a different home because they simply can't afford to pay their agent. What you should not say is that agents may refuse to show your home if you don't offer compensation. You should not say that. The truth is, some buyers, Mr. Seller, if you don't want to consider compensation to the buyer side agent, that's your choice, but you will put some or many, in my opinion, most home buyers in the position of going, well, then I'm going to have to pay my agent out of my pocket, and that's going to greatly impact my cash position to close, so I'm going to have to choose a different home. That's what I would bring up to the seller. And yesterday we loaded an alternative listing agreement in Docs Plus where it just focuses on the one option, the seller compensation to the listing broker. The other two options aren't needed. That's my best practices recommendation for you on the seller side. On the buyer side, a couple tips this morning, so a couple ideas. You are going to need a written agreement in place before you start showing homes. It doesn't have to be a buyer-broker agreement. It has to be a written agreement. And here's what else it has to have. Your fee has to be conspicuously displayed in a discernible amount. That means you can't hide it in the small print. Any reasonable person would be able to quickly be able to identify what your fee is and be able to quickly determine what it is. So it can't be in a range. It can't be, well, if this, then that. It has to be a discernible amount. Right? It could be a percentage. It could be a dollar amount, but it can't be a range. Okay? Now, your written agreement with your home buyer, it could be exclusive or it could be non-exclusive. It could run indefinitely or it could run for a very limited period of time. Like it could just be for today, for example. It could be an exclusive agreement, an official buyer brokerage agreement that runs indefinitely, or it could just be a non-exclusive agreement for one house today. And it could be anything in between that. But it does have to be a written agreement, and your fee has to be conspicuously displayed and be a discernible amount. It could cover all homes, any home that this home buyer would buy, or it could just cover designated homes. It could be any of those things. You know what I would probably do? I would probably let my relationship with the customer dictate which type I used. So for example, if it was a repeat customer, there's a personal relationship there. It's kind of even silly that we even have to have an agreement because our relationship is so strong. I probably go ahead and do the full buyer brokerage agreement exclusive with that type of customer. If it's a lead and I've never really met them, I don't know them, they don't really know me, or it's not a strong committed relationship, I probably use the non-exclusive agreement to get started with. I might even, depending on the customer and our relationship, I might even make it for a very limited period of time, and or I might just make it for a very limited property or properties. Mr. Buyer, it's just for today, for these 3 homes that we're going to see today, but I am required to have a written agreement in place. And what this says is that you agree that I should receive 3 chickens for helping you buy one of these homes today. We're going to ask the seller to pay me the 3 chickens, but if for some reason you select a home where the seller's unwilling to do that, you would owe me 3 chickens. But after today, this is it's just for a limited time period, and it's just for the properties listed here on this page. I think you'll use your soft skills, your people skills, to know what's appropriate, to what extent, and with who. I think with people that I've never really met, don't really have a relationship with, it's a pretty big reach to expect them to sign an exclusive, never-ending, multi-page buyer brokerage agreement. I probably wouldn't ask them to do that. That's kind of like asking somebody to marry you on the first date. That's just weird. That makes everybody feel weird. In that case, we've given you, and it's in your forms package, a 1-pager. And it's non-exclusive. And at the bottom, you can just list the properties that it pertains to if you want to. I don't want to create a lot of friction between me and the customer. I want to make it easy for the customer to do business with me. I don't want to make them feel scared or defensive or like they're signing their life away with somebody they never really met. Then again, maybe on a repeat customer, a family member or a close friend, a strong referral, something more is appropriate. I think you'll decide. I wouldn't be throwing a 6-7 page buyer brokerage exclusive, never-ending binding agreement in front of every single home buyer that you meet. But you will need to have some type of written agreement. I hope that you'll come join us for our Connect Wednesday program tomorrow, because I know we covered this last week, but tomorrow is just going to be a chat. It's just going to be a Q&A session. And we're just going to shoot the bull, and we're going to try to answer whatever questions you might have, get into some of the one-offs, the particularities that we weren't able to get into last week, kind of have an unstructured conversation. So I hope you'll make the effort to come join us with that tomorrow. And for today, let's get out there and make it happen.